Hi everyone, and welcome back to Fully Playable Games for another This Week's in Gaming video. And yeah, there has been some interesting news articles come out this week, but also we have started seeing some sort of end of financial year information come out, which has then led on to some really interesting information. So yeah, we've got a couple of bits all around sort of investor briefs and sort of financial statements to cover in this video. So yeah, we are going to dive straight in with none of that. And yeah, we are going to be talking about the fact that the Switch 2 technical specs have been released. So yeah, it was, I think it was broke by Eurogamer, and they basically tell us about I think it was a YouTuber who, I'll tell you what, let's just jump over to the story and we'll take it from there. So, the Switch 2 final tech specs and system revisions have been confirmed. So, Nintendo released its own technical specifications for the Switch 2, but it failed to say the details of basically the internal components. A lot of details focus on the vaguest of elements in the official specifications. Starting with the CPU, Nvidia and Nintendo have indeed settled on the ARM Core A78C. So let me see if I can see. Don't know. Compelling leaks about the new processor. Yeah, it doesn't actually say where the leaks come from. But let's roll down. And what they've actually done is they've put together this table, which gives you a bit of an idea between the original Switch and the Switch 2. So you'll see here, the Switch 2 is actually going to be has an 8-core ARM CPU, whereas the original Switch had a 4-core. I'll be honest, even though I'm an IT guy, I don't know too much about ARM processors. So yeah, you will have to bear with me on that one. And you'll see here, there's not actually a lot of difference in the actual CPU sort of clock speed. So 998 megahertz when it's docked, basically 1100 megahertz when it's mobile, with a max of 1.7 gigahertz. And yeah, the Switch, both docked and mobile, was just over 1,000, and the max was 1.85 gigahertz. So yeah, not a lot of difference there in the actual sort of clock speed, but obviously you're going from essentially four processors to 8. And the CPU system reservations. So what they have actually done as well is they've also included what will be available to developers. So the actual Switch 2 operating system will utilize 2 of the cores, and that will leave 6 cores open to developers. Whereas the original Switch, you had 1 core for the system and 3 cores for developers. GPU architecture is Ampere, I don't know, and then Maxwell. Once again, not too sure on that. But we've got CUDA cores, 1536 for the Switch 2, compared to 256 on the original Switch. And then we've got the GPU clock speeds. Once again, massive uptake between the Switch and the Switch 2. And then if we go down to the bottom here, so we've got the actual the system memory. So we'll see here we've got 3 gig reserved for the actual OS, which, yeah, that is hefty. A lot of people have been speculating that that is going to be the reason that it's got 3 gig allocated to it is for game chat. And yeah, that, because if you look compared to the Switch one, the system reserved was 0.8 gig. So yeah, more than 3 times the amount of CPU speed. Memory usage for the OS on the Switch 2. But it does also give the developers 3 times more to work with as well. As the Switch 2, they're going to have 9 gig compared to the original Switch, which was just 3.2. So what a lot of people do expect to happen is over the lifespan of the Switch 2, we'll see sort of firmware upgrades and things like that made to the operating system that will potentially lower that down. So maybe in sort of a year or two, we may see that the OS goes down to like 2 gig, and then that opens up 10 gig for the developers. But yeah, it's not surprising. Obviously, we were expecting to see a bit of an uptake, but yeah, certain bits I'm surprised about. The fact, like the CPU clock speeds, for example, really surprised that there's no big uptake in that compared to the two systems. But otherwise, across the board, it is, yeah, a big uptake. And yeah, to see that the system's actually going to be running on 12 gig of memory is, yeah, a really good sign. I'll still be honest, I am still on the fence with regards to the Switch, so the Switch 2, sorry. At this point, I've got no plans of picking it up for the collection. I will get one at some point, but at the moment, not really got any plans to. Until I start seeing a bit more, until I start getting a bit more of an insight into the games. So I've got another article that we're going to cover a bit later on, where Nintendo actually do respond to all of the sort of backlash online around the game keycards. So we'll get to that in a little while. But next up, and actually something that I am really excited to see. So we are going into our first sort of investor document that we've seen released recently. And that is from Shift Up. I was about to say Stitch Up then. Shift Up, the makers of Stellar Blade. And they have basically quietly announced that they are working on a Stellar Blade sequel. And it is actually really surprising how soon we might actually be getting it. So if we jump back to the computer screen, we'll see here IP expansion on its way. And yeah, this is from their sort of basically investor documents. This goes out to all of the investors in the company to show what they've done over the last year, what they're looking to do in sort of future and things like that. And we'll see we've got this section here for Stellar Blade. So we started in 2024. And then we've got 2027 here. But right in the middle, we've got platform expansion. So this will probably be some DLC for the original Stellar Blade. But then we've also got sequel. So they are working on a sequel. And potentially, we could be seeing it as early as 2026. Now, what a lot of people have speculated is that they are essentially going to reuse a lot of assets from the first game, and they'll just repurpose that into the second game. But yeah, it is really exciting that we are getting basically, we've got confirmation that Shift Up are working on a Stellar Blade sequel, which, I'll be honest, it isn't really a surprise. With the runaway success that Stellar Blade was, it would have just been unfathomable. I'll get there in a minute. It would have just been unfathomable that they wouldn't have worked on a sequel. I didn't necessarily expect to see it this quickly, but from what we're seeing sort of talk online is that they are actually looking to make it they are looking to sort of put these out quite regularly. So I'm hoping that they don't go to a yearly model. 2 years, yeah, I think that could work. So obviously we got 2024, 2026, 2 years between, I think is a good time scale. So yeah, really happy with that. And yeah, I love Stellar Blade. I'm a couple of hours into it. I haven't actually had the time to sit there and sort of go through and complete it. It's probably going to be one of the next ones that I sort of binge play to sort of get through. But yeah, really happy with that. And yeah, but what we're going to do is we're going to stay on the sequel train, because this week we have also had the unintended announcement of a sequel. Well, We knew that the sequel was coming, but we didn't actually have the name for the sequel. And that is the Super Mario Bros. Movie sequel. So no longer are we going to be referring to this as Super Mario Bros. 2, because Universal actually put out their investor statements. I think it was it was like the beginning part of last week. And within that, they were talking about basically films that were going to be going to the Peacock streaming service as soon as they'd finished their theatrical run. And when they first put it up, they actually put in the new Super Mario Bros. Film. And yeah, very quickly later that day, it was removed. And yeah. So yeah, it has been confirmed that the Super Mario Bros. 2 is going to be called Super Mario World, which does actually make sense, because if you think about it, Super Mario World was the one that was released on the SNES, but that was also the first game where we were introduced to Yoshi. So it kind of does make sense. But if we look here, so Super Mario Bros. Mu is gearing up for its sequel. Where is it? The supposed reveal comes from Wario64 on X, which noted the NBC Universal issued a press release that listed a section of movies that will be available post-theatrical release with the Peacock streaming service, with Super Mario Bros. World among those noted. And I think we've got... no, I thought they had a screenshot of it. But yeah, it was very quickly very quickly removed. And yeah, to be quite honest, sort of, it's good that we're seeing it. Obviously, we do have the actual release date for the film. So it's going to be the 3rd of April 2026. And I will admit, I will be there on the 3rd of April to see it. I absolutely loved the first film. And yeah, definitely looking forward to it. I will admit, there is, over the next sort of year, I've got 2 video game movies that I'm really looking forward to seeing. The first one is Five Nights at Freddy's 2, which comes out in December. And then obviously in April next year, we've got the Mario Bros. Sequel as well. So yeah, some really, really good films coming out, and ones that I'm really looking forward to. But next up, we are going to be going on to something that the company involved probably doesn't want us talking about. And that is the drama around Bungie and their up-and-coming extraction... is it extraction shooter? Yeah, extraction shooter marathon. And that is that basically one of the artists working on the game actually essentially stole a lot of artwork that he placed around. Now, the artwork was used for sort of set dressing, but the actual artist that created them put a post out on Twitter and said that he's had nothing to do with the game. Bungie have never reached out to him, and yeah, it has literally blown up from there. So this was an article that came out a couple of days later, but basically Bungie confirmed that the artist's work was taken and used in Marathon without the artist's permission. The staff member responsible no longer works for Bungie, the studio says. So Scottish artist Fern Hook, who posts as that on social media, posted a series of messages on X, and this is his actual post. The Marathon Alpha released recently, and its environments are covered with assets lifted from poster designs that I made in 2017. So we'll probably see if we can open it. Yeah. So these are his posters, and you'll see here you've got this block here has been used in various assets, and then this one here. So basically, if you look, where are we looking for this one? So I can't see that there. Yeah, okay, you could probably say that and that, but obviously they have removed the sort of rectangle behind it. So that one's a bit cagey. But then if you look down here, so you've got this bar of icons, and you'll see here that it's pretty much used verbatim there and there. So yeah, it's quite clear that his stuff has been sort of lifted. But yeah, obviously Bungie have had to essentially admit to the essentially theft is probably the right word to use, because obviously they have essentially stolen this artist's work. Now, as far as I'm aware, the actual artist hasn't pursued Bungie in any way, shape or form. They have literally just called them out online. I will be very surprised if Bungie have not reached out to the artist in the background to try and smooth things over or something like that. But to be quite honest, from what everyone's talking about with regards to Marathon, it's probably not going to be a massive deal anyway. The sort of talk online about it, there isn't really any buzz around it, and what people are saying about it is it's very middle of the road. Now, I will admit, I haven't played any of the alphas. I've only literally seen people talking about it. And to be quite honest, my opinion of it is it looks very lazy. So anytime I see footage of the actual gameplay, the first thing I think of is like the demo character from Unreal Engine 4. And yeah, it just looks like they've literally just chucked a load of sort of demo 3D characters into the game and just made an extraction shooter around it. Now, I know that it's meant to have a very sort of basic sort of art style. But for me, yeah, and you can guarantee this is going to be a sort of £50 to £60 game when it releases. And yeah, it will probably be dead within a year. Because, as I say, a lot of people aren't really sort of talking positively about it. And yeah, I personally, and I really don't like saying stuff like this, I think this is the end of Bungie. Because they've come out and said that if Marathon isn't a success, they are in deep trouble. And I think if Marathon isn't a success, Sony's just going to cut their losses and get rid of them. Which it will be a real shame, because obviously Bungie have had a major part in the gaming landscape right away from the original Xbox. Obviously building the Halo series, then they've worked on Destiny, and obviously now it's, yeah, I'll be very upset if Bungie do end up sort of disappearing after Marathon. But yeah, it is what it is. So yeah, it's a bit of a shame, but we'll just have to keep an eye. What a lot of people are saying online about it is that they hope that Sony and Bungie actually sort of put the brakes on and basically delay the game for a year and really spend the time sort of polishing the game, making it literally the best thing they can. But unfortunately, I don't think that's going to happen. Sony have obviously laid out a lot of money for all these different studios, and they want to see a return as quickly as possible. So yeah, I don't think that they're going to put any delays or anything like that. It will release, and then they'll just cut Bungie loose if it doesn't plan out the way that they want it to. But yeah, I think it's going to be a case of sort of watch this space, and then we'll see what happens over the next sort of 6 to 8 months. I think that's going to be the telling time. And then moving on, we are going to be talking about, like I mentioned earlier on, Nintendo have responded to the sort of backlash that they are seeing for the game key cards. And originally, this was actually broken by the gamer. I think it's based on an IGN interview with Nintendo, and basically Nintendo has possibly seen a bit of pushback over the Nintendo Switch 2 than it was expecting, as they manage to upset fans in a number of ways ever since we got the big system reveal earlier this year. Mario Kart World kicked off the anger over video game pricing, while the console itself is also seen as too expensive, and it could get even worse. Now, I will say, before we go on from there, yes, I am on board with the anger for the Mario Kart World, pricing. But for the console, it pretty much landed exactly where I was expecting it to be. I mean, before the Nintendo Direct, I was saying that it was going to be around the 400 mark. That's what I was expecting. And it pretty much dropped to right around that. Obviously, we are seeing, I think Nintendo have confirmed that there will be price hikes in the future for the console. So, yeah, if you want to get it for a reasonable price, jump in and try and get it on release. I'll be honest, I'm not in that much of a rush to get it. There's definitely nothing at launch that I want it for. So, yeah, I am not sort of jumping on it. But carrying on with the article, another of Nintendo's Switch 2 big controversy is regarding the game key cards, which are essentially codes on a cartridge that we use to download the full game. It's a measure for Nintendo to get games onto the Switch 2 that may have larger file sizes than the maximum 64 gig carts will allow, but obviously raises concern over video game preservation. And yeah, totally agree. So where are we? So here we go. When asked, so as I say, it was from an IGN interview. When asked whether game key cards are a future for Nintendo, Doug Bowser confirms that proper physical games are still a key part of our business, and that Nintendo plans to support them for the immediate future. In the immediate future, physical games are still a key part of our business, and we value our relationship, in particular with our retailers, and want to make sure that we have products available for them to sell to their consumers. When you look at game key cards, for us, our goal with Nintendo Switch, similar to what we were able to accomplish on the Nintendo Switch, is to have the broadest and deepest library of content that we possibly can. He goes on to explain that game key cards allow third-party developers to publish third-party publishers and developers to bring deeper and larger, more immersive content on the Switch 2. So it sounds like physical games are still part of Nintendo's future for now, but it will be down to developers themselves to choose whether they make the effort to fit their games on a cartridge. Now, before we move on and I sort of just talk about my feelings with that, there was actually another article on Nintendo Life that I want to bring up. And that is Nintendo has no plans to use game key cards for the first-party developed titles. You can push any fears about seeing Mario on game key cards aside. Nintendo has revealed that it has no plans to use the new physical format on its first-party developed titles. After more Switch 2 titles began to crop up under the game key card label, we reached out to Nintendo UK for confirmation as to whether we should expect to see the same approach used on Mario, Link and Samus in the future. Today we received the following response. We currently have no plans to use game key cards for Nintendo developed titles. So that is good. So we are going to be seeing the Nintendo library of games all sticking to actually on the cart, which is really good. But the problem is does that make the Switch 2 a viable purchase if it's just for the first party games? And I'll be honest, in my eyes, no, it doesn't. It really doesn't. And as I say, if 90% of the games that are coming out on the console are going to be on game key card, then yeah, for me, that's an all digital platform. and I've got no interest in it at all. So yeah, it is something that I'm going to be watching very closely. But until I start seeing more developers taking up that 64 gig cartridge, now obviously I think two things need to happen. First off, I think Nintendo need to be offering a wider range of carts to developers and publishers. Just having a game key card and a 64 gig isn't viable, and I think a lot of the blame at the moment does lie with Nintendo, because from sort of what we've been seeing online, the Nintendo are actually charging developers $10 per cart for the 64 gig cartridge. We don't know what the game key cart costs, but I can imagine it is a fraction of that. So yeah, I would like to see Nintendo release maybe a 32 gig cart or even a 10 gig cart, just so that there's a couple of middle of the road options for sort of smaller developers and games that don't necessarily need the full 64 gig. And equally, I agree with what they're saying with regards to games that are too big to fit on the 64 gig. But I think even then, I think Nintendo should be pushing the 64 gig for those games as well. And just having, maybe there's some extra content, maybe like the cutscenes, or even like the last quarter of the game or something is a download. I don't know the best way to do it, but yeah, it just seems that Nintendo are more promoting the game key card, and it's basically sort of forcing developers down that route. Equally, my other option would be that we see more developers actually pushing for a sort of all-on cart. I personally think this is going to blow up in all of their faces. I really, really do. Because if you look at the code in the box that we've got on the current Switch, they don't sell very well. And you actually hear a lot of people say, yeah, no, I want if I'm buying a physical box, I want the actual cartridge. Otherwise, I'd just go and buy it digitally. So I don't think that the game key cards are going to be successful. I think within sort of 6 to 12 months, we'll start seeing the majority of games once again coming out on physical cart, or them developers not releasing anything at all and just go straight digital. So yeah, we'll see. As I say, that is another thing that we're going to have to sort of just watch and play it by ear. But I do think that we will see a big U-turn with regards to the game key cards, and they'll start sort of fading into the background a bit more. And then the final article that I want to sort of talk about is based around Sony's financial earnings. So they recently released their financial earnings for 2024, and there is quite a lot of information in there with regards to PS5 sales as well as game sales as well, which, if it's correct, is actually extremely concerning. Very, very concerning. So let's jump back over. Oh, there we go. So this is the section of the document that literally just focuses on like the PS5 stuff, or PS5, PS4. So if we start here, where we've got sort of PlayStation 5 hardware and software sales. So we've got PS5 hardware, and then over the course of last year, sorry, that is 2023, sorry. We have got 20.8 million units sold. And then obviously we've seen a bit of a dip last year, where it's saying that we've got 18.5 million PS5s were sold last year, with basically sort of Q4 being the lowest run. No, second to lowest run, sorry. So we've got Q1 of 2024. So that would have been January, February, March. and then the Q4 is up to October, November, and December. So yeah, 2.8 million PS5 sold in the lead up to Christmas, whereas if you go back to the previous year, it was 4.5 million. So yeah, that is a big dip. But as I say, I think the problem that I've got with the PS5 at the moment. So like me personally, I've got my PS5. I've still got my PS5 that I got. I think it was about 3 months after release. I think I finally got my one. And then we've now seen the Slim, the Pro, and all of the variations. Oh, sorry. Oh, God knows what happened there. And then all the variations in between. And I'll be honest, there's been nothing that has actually driven me to want to buy one of the subsequent ones. Obviously, the PS5 Pro, I think the price is obscene. What is it? I think I've seen sort of $699 for the Pro. I don't know what it is over here. That's how little interest I've had in picking one up. And then obviously the fact that it doesn't come with a disc drive, you've then got to buy that separately as well. I'm like, no, I'm just not interested. My PS5 works fine. It plays the games fine. I don't need to upgrade it. Obviously, in the future, if I manage to get hold of one second hand, then brilliant. I'll pick them up and I'll add them to the collection. But yeah, at the moment, my PS5 works fine and I'm more than happy with it. So yeah, it's very interesting to see how sort of much of a downturn. Obviously, yeah, if you look over the course of the whole year, actually. So basically Q1, Q3 and Q4 are all down on 2023. The only one that's up is Q3, which is surprising because that would have been the sort of summer, like school holidays month. Might well be it, actually. So yeah, there's that. And then also we've got information about the breakdown between sort of physical and digital. And this is where it gets really concerning for me. So we'll see up here, we've got physical and digital sales. So for 2024, Sony basically made 121 million yen on... or is that 100? No, that is 121 billion yen, sorry, for physical games. But they made 900 and... No, that's not right. It's not... No, yeah, it could be, actually, yeah, because it's yen. 949 billion yen on digital games. And we'll see down here, it actually shows us quarter by quarter the breakdown between physical and digital. So for the year, the breakdown was actually 76% of all games sold on the PS5 and PS4 were digital games. And that is... For me, that is sickening. It really is. Because this just bolsters some of the things that I've said recently about the next gen consoles, that they will go to an all digital model. And the thing is if you're selling, if 3/4 of the games that you're selling are already digital, then there's no sort of like, there's no pressure on Sony to keep making discs. And obviously we're seeing it more and more now, where like we had Doom recently, there's like 300 meg on the disc and the whole game essentially is having to be downloaded. So yeah, I think these figures just bolster for me that we are reaching the end of physical gaming. It is, I will be amazed beyond belief if the PlayStation 6 or the next Xbox have any form of physical media. I just think with these sort of numbers, it's not going to happen. So yeah, once again, we're just going to have to sort of play it by ear. Obviously, there's been a lot of conversations online recently around the PlayStation 6 and potentially seeing it. I mean, a lot of people are saying 2027 for the PS6 as well as the new Xbox as well. So yeah, we'll probably won't be until sort of middle to late next year. I think we'll start seeing more information about those consoles dropping. But yeah, with those sort of numbers, if you look at all of last year, physical or digital never dropped below 70%. I think I think we're at the end of physical gaming. I think the PS5 and the Xbox Series X are going to be the end of days for physical game collecting, which, yeah, it is not good. It's not what I want, but equally, it's what I've been expecting. So yeah, as I say, I will be keeping a close eye on this. And as soon as we see any information about the new consoles, I will let you guys know. But yeah, with that said, that is going to wrap it up for today. Let me know in the comments down below. What did you think about any of the articles that we covered? Whether it's the Stella Blade sequel, the dire financial figures that we're seeing from Sony, or the Bungie artwork, or your thoughts on Marathon as well. But yeah, let me know down below what you think. And yeah, it is very tumultuous times, shall we say, within the gaming landscape. But yeah, hopefully, I'm hoping, especially around the physical side of things, I'm hoping I'm completely off base. But I think that is going to be one of those things where only time will tell. But with that said, that is going to wrap up today's video. So before you head off, if you did enjoy the video, don't forget to hit that like button. And if you're not already, smash that subscribe button and ring the bell to be kept up to date when I upload new videos. And yeah, with that said, thank you so much for watching today. Really hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you on the next one. All right, bye.